Some conversations will be mind-blowing and you'll sit there and you'll have the most profound change.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, hang on, let me try and turn you up. Why is it so quiet?
Did you have issues getting in?
No, I didn't. I just was just making sure. To be honest, I'm not very good at getting like my background good.
Oh right, okay, don't worry.
Conscious of because it's really nice. And if I'm outside, I can't see you, and the Wi-Fi goes if I'm anywhere too far away from the box. So I can't like be anywhere in my studio or anywhere that looks interesting.
That sounds a bit like being here at home. I go in the smallest bedroom with the plainest room and I have to draw the curtain so the sun doesn't come on. But, you know, mostly people are just interested in the conversation. So I'm like, okay, just go with it.
Okay, good.
Are you sorted with your background? Are you happy?
Well, I mean, it just is what it is.
It is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. The way I do this is really important and organic, because that's the way I like to be. So this is probably the start of our conversation. So thanks for joining me. And it seems a bit weird, really, because we've never actually met in person. But obviously, I know. I don't think we have.
No,
or have we very, 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 very briefly?
I'm not sure now you've said that.
Do you know what? I personally, this sounds really bad. If we have, I don't remember it, because I think, I just don't think I have. Obviously, I know Gemma pretty well, but.
See, I feel like we have, but now you say it, I think it's maybe because I just remember seeing you on the live when you were doing the English Harbour Radio.
Possibly, maybe that's it. So we feel like we've met.
Yeah.
and that's a really good thing. And then obviously through that, I've been kind of watching your art unfold, which I find like absolutely fascinating. And oh my God, I'm so jealous and envious of anyone that can do the things that you do. So it seemed like really fitting, especially after. It's like we're going to go forward to come back in several different ways. So I guess to start with, tell people who you are and what you do. Who you are and what you do. And by that, I mean, what do you do to make money, I guess, is the normal thing. But, you know, what fires you up? What are you
passionate about? So I guess I've just realised recently that I can survive as being an artist in real life. But in terms of kind of making money to kind of do bigger things, I'm realising the limitations of my funds. Yeah, I can kind of, I mean, I've never been particularly driven by money, but I think I've always been quite lucky to not be too desperate ever either.
Yes.
So, you know.
That sounds quite like me. Money isn't necessarily my motivational factor. And then everyone that's listening to this goes, but you need to worry about money and think about money. And I kind of come to it, you know, something will show up. It will be okay.
Yeah. It always does seem to. And I just start thinking, and what am I going to do now? It's looking a bit thin. Something just about comes up before I get to that point. But I haven't actually had to pitch for work for quite a few years now, so that's been good. People come to me for stuff. But I would also, you know, there's other things that I would like to be doing with my time as well in terms of my art practice, and sometimes maybe I need to be a little bit more committed on putting energy into making those things happen rather than I've got workshops coming up now, which I love. And they are very much my bread and butter money, my workshop stuff. But yeah, there are some other things that I'd like to say. Oh no, I need
so before we delve too far into the art, how did that happen? Did you always want to be? Did you grow up thinking, oh my gosh, I want to be an artist? Where did it stem from? Because I always think it's really interesting for people to listen to other people's stories, because we don't always arrive where we think we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
from like the, you know, pop out and go, oh yes, I want to be this. I mean, I still don't know what I really want to do, and I'm 54.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I remember. I mean, I really like school, and everything was quite a positive experience for me. But particularly design GCSE, I think was the first time I thought, oh, I think I really like making things, and realised that maybe I could do that. And then I did art A level, and it just all seemed to happen very naturally. And the art foundation course was amazing. I think everybody should do an art foundation course, even if they're not going to go down that route, for just to have 12 months to completely explore and make stuff and be creative and go, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And then
I've already got to stop you there to delve into that already. Right. So more recently, people have been saying to me, oh, Janice, you're really creative. And I think I'm creative in terms of I can see how to put things together and bring people together and listen to stuff. But if you said to me, oh, draw or make something, I'm like, I can't do that. I can see the vision, yet equally I'm kind of going, no, you must be able to do something, Janice. You know, you can't not be able to, surely.
Yeah.
So you actually sort of saying you think everybody, I mean, God, wouldn't that be a beautiful thing if we all could have that time in our lives to
definitely. Yeah, and I think the whole kind of process of thinking about things creatively and from another perspective, it would be massively beneficial for everybody. I remember my tutor, Keith Malkin, his name was, on my art foundation course, just came up to me and he just walked past me, and whatever it was that I was working on, I had to find something. Anyway, he just picked it up and just turned it upside down, and then just left it on my desk and just walked away. And I just always remember doing it. I was just like, oh yeah.
Okay,
it's better that way around. Yeah,
absolutely. So the literal change of perspective.
Yeah, and it just such a simple thing really blew my mind. It's just like, oh right, because I just hadn't seen it like that at all. But I think, exactly, literally.
That's a huge. I mean, that just makes me go into this huge metaphor for life, though, right? If we step away from something and look at it from a different perspective, everything changes.
Yeah.
So why would it not be the same with art as is with everything else? Do you know?
Yeah. I think I guess that's what I mean about people having the opportunity to be in that creative environment for a bit of time, to realise how you can do things differently, or, you know, see things differently.
And I suppose in terms of schooling and stuff as well, many of us are pushed in different directions by parents, by people thinking we should do certain things, and the amount of creatives I know who have been told by parents, oh, you'll never be able to make a living out of that, you won't make any money from that, that's not a real job. As I sit here not doing a real job, right? And it's kind of like, but how do we break down those stories for ourselves as well? So did you have any of that on your journey?
No, I mean, no, I never felt pressured for anything and to go in any particular direction. But my gran particularly, she was very creative, and she used to paint and write, and she set up a youth club that she ran in the local village for, I don't know, 20 odd years. And I don't know, she was a massive influence in my life, my gran, because I also did when I first started thinking about what it was that I wanted to do with my life, my probably first meaningful job was as a youth worker, and I trained after I did my fine art degree. I actually did an MA in community and youth work, and that was kind of my link between working with people in you know, kind of. Yeah, so I guess that's what, going back to the workshop thing, I guess that all kind of ties in together. And
I was just about to say that almost is like you set the groundwork. So you did the art, and then you set the groundwork in your sort of youth work to then bring the two together in what is your actual real passion for life.
But it was only actually really when I did, I don't know if you saw a picture of the owl that I did, the mirror mosaic owl that I did. So I think that was the first time I'd ever kind of done anything on my own that everyone, me included, was like, oh, okay, maybe that's quite cool. Maybe I have got some kind of skill to produce some work that's pretty all right by myself. Because I've done a lot of collaborative projects as well, kind of events and kind of, you know, all sorts of things. But yeah, I often work with, because we're living in Birmingham, so there's so many creative, artistically, amazingly skilled people around. You know, it's great to meet people and chat and do things together. And yeah, so I think I just kind of got into that kind of working.
You found your way in that. So go back to the owl then. So where did the inspiration for the owl come from? Explain it to people that haven't seen it. at the end of this podcast now, we're going to have to attach a bunch of pictures on the website as well, so people can see your art, right?
Yeah. I mean, I really, so the owl, it was a trail that was put on by Wild in Art to raise money for the Children's Hospital in Birmingham. So they were all owls. I think they were called a parliament. A group of owls is called a parliament of owls. And I just had a very strong image of a disco ball owl. But when I put the design down, I kind of just imagined that the feather kind of shape would be there for the mirror rather than it be kind of square things. You know, I hadn't really thought very practically about how I was going to do it when I first put the design in, but I could see it. And then, when I was doing it, my gran was really with me. I felt she was just, when I first started cutting the glass and I looked at the size of the owl and I was just like, oh God, what have I done?
What have I started?
But I just had this very, like we used to go to the Q Club in Birmingham. I don't know if you know that place, but I could just, the whole time I was doing it, I could just have this vision of this disco ball owl just spinning around like lasers going off it, just looking crazy, and I could just really see it. And it just, that whole thing really kind of kept me going, that vision for it. Plus we had a friend staying with us at the time who was actually turned out to be very helpful. It was just like, what do you need now, Sophie? It was like having me cut all that out, all these shapes. And
so my brain goes is, what sits underneath the beautiful sparkly shiny owl? A mold of some kind.
So it's just a fiberglass mold. I guess it must have some kind of framework inside, or I don't know how thick it is.
So you create that, or you go
no, they just arrive. They just arrive ready to be covered.
And then you set about covering it. So if I bring it forward to today, obviously I've got to ask about the elephant. So did the elephant arrive as these fiberglass?
Yes, exactly the same. And I did the little one as well. I don't know if you saw that one.
I did see the little one as well. I tried to see as many as I could. So for people that are now thinking, what on earth are they talking about?
You've seen it in real life.
I did. I was on a mission. I was like, I need to go and see this, you know, because I see your work on Facebook when you post things, and obviously Gemma
very rarely. Not good at it.
I need to share more, right?
Yeah.
We need to share more. It's kind of stepping into this space of sharing our stuff, and the whole, I mean, everybody who doesn't love an elephant. And I was like, okay, I've got to make an effort to go and see these elephants, and I definitely need to see Sophie's elephant. So for people that are now thinking, why the hell are we talking about elephants? Do you want to explain? Because I guess in a way it's a similar thing to the owls.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So this one is called Worcester's Big Parade. So the owls was the Big Hoot, and this is called the Big Parade. And it's for St Richard's Hospice. So it's raising money for them. But there's an organisation called Wild in Art who organise, working with charities, these public art trails, and it's generally local artists who apply to decorate one of these creatures. And so I think there's a few happening over the whole country as we speak. I think there's Rams in Derby, and there's Rocket somewhere else, and I think there's probably at least 10 going on. And I think Wild in Art makes sure that you know, everyone's not doing elephants all in the same year, so it kind of looks.
So Childlike is a UK-based idea, charity, is it?
Yeah, although they've done things in Australia, in South Africa, in Dubai, I've heard as well now, because so I'm gonna somebody's messaged me that lives in Dubai, and she was talking about this a company called at the Taj Hotel called the Eloquent Elephant, and she was like, you definitely want to get a message to them to see if they might be interested. So they've all auctioned off.
Oh, right, okay.
At the end to raise money for the hospice as well. So yeah, that's kind of how the whole thing
so that's a really good feeling factor, right? That you get to do something super creative that potentially you wouldn't have been doing if it wasn't part of this, and then it goes towards making money and helping people.
Yes.
So I'm making an assumption here that your heart is very much in helping people however you can, and because I kind of see that coming through in a lot of your stuff. Yeah,
I guess so. I guess that's the kind of thing that those things sit most comfortably when I'm doing things like that. Yeah, that's
so dare I ask the question of how it played out through the COVID months, as we're all referring to?
Oh, wow.
Did that bring big shifts and changes in the way that you work, that you delivered?
So I was actually really lucky in that I was due to start an artist residency, which was a partnership project with the Rep in Birmingham, the theatre Rep, and it was called the Creative Civic Change Project, and it was in Welsh House Farm in Birmingham, partnered with Birchfield in Birmingham. Anyway, so the first week I was meant to start was I can't remember, it was kind of 2 days before the big announcement was made. Nobody, you know, lockdown, everyone's got to stay where they are. And a couple of weeks later, I had a message from a lady, Heather Pete Morrison, who's quite a well-known artist nationally, possibly internationally as well. Anyway, we were having weekly Zoom meetings between 5 pretty established artists, not that I would necessarily include myself as an established artist, but you know, and we were all just having conversations about, you know, what we were going through, what it was like for each of us, how locally, how we could carry it, how we could still connect, and how we could potentially still deliver some arts experiences for people in the community from a distance, or, you know. Anyway, we ended up putting these art packs together, but they honoured our contracts, so we still got paid for doing stuff. And I did a couple of videos online, and then we put these art packs together, and I did, you know, it was a visual kind of thing that got handed out, and then it was the summer holidays, and then I started back in September last year at the school until Christmas, and then it was the second lockdown and stuff, and then I was doing stuff online. But yeah, had I not had that work through lockdown, I probably would have been a bit panicky. So yeah, and that I'm still on that artist residency now with that community.
How long does that go on for then?
I think it's definitely it's kind of been in 6 month kind of contract bits, but I think ultimately it's a 2.5 or 3. I joined it a bit late, maybe a 3-year project that they do it. Yeah.
So with the change, she says, in legislation and lockdown, etc., does that mean you're actually out with people delivering now?
Yes, yeah. So as of, I think, was it March, I was back in the school, and we're doing stuff at the community garden as well. We've planted a river of wheat at the community garden, so we're technically growing our own pizza, and it's nearly ready. And we're going to work with a lady soon, and we're building an earth oven so that we'll mill our flour and then make our own dough and then make our own pizza, and grow some tomatoes and do some roasted vegetables.
That's pretty epic, and not necessarily what I would necessarily think about when I think about an artist in residence, right?
Yeah.
so is it just a real big kind of spectrum of all sorts of things, and what you can do collectively together? Is who decides what you're even doing?
Well, so the Creative Civic Change Programme is very much a resident-led project, and it's about funding that's been given to, I think it's the big local trust that they set up this creative civic change. And yeah, it's very much about the money being in the hands of the people to make the decisions on the ground, you know, in the hands of the people, that kind of thing, which is really good. So, you know, everyone was baking bread at home, weren't they, growing their own vegetables, you know, all of those kind of things. So they became very things that connected us together, those kind of things. So so I think that just happened. That's just awesome. So that was the response.
So with this growing of this wheat and this milling of this flour, is there like a visual documentary or filming of this that's going to happen so that people see it playing out? Or
so there is, I guess, I mean, I have been collecting like a series of photographs every time I do stuff. So I probably, I mean, the teacher was talking about doing like an online flip book type thing, so the kids have got it. So I don't know how it will be, but yes, there will be some kind of
You know, the thing is, if I think about that, like I say, I don't necessarily think about that in being in my mind as art. Yeah, it's so creative. So to be involved with things like that, where you literally, it's almost like there's no boundaries to what is art and how you can do it and share it.
Yeah.
So I really feel drawn to the idea of that. So then I'm going to go back a bit to some of these workshops that you do, because I was flicking through and I've seen some of the things that you, what was it, where I was just looking, where it was like, if you've got some twigs in your garden, if you've got some flowers in your garden.
How
cool is that? Whereas, you know, I guess people would just not necessarily think they're capable. They would look at something and think, oh, that's really cool. But not in my mind would I think I could make that. So are things like that just ideas that you've naturally come up with, or you've seen?
So that was all lockdown response to stuff, and the art packs that we put together, particularly that one, because normally, so another thing that I do, and another project I've got coming up is a light night event.
The lanterns.
So lantern stuff. So normally I would work with willow and special tissue paper and this kind of thing. But because I didn't have those things at home, and I was thinking, well, other people at home are not going to have those things. So anyway, I just was walking around outside and I just found some sticks and some nettle stalks and some, you know, and then I was using the hummus lid to have a kind of skin, and, you know, do like some paper mache kind of stuff on that, and pressing all the flowers and
But what really cool ideas as well, though, to show people that we don't necessarily, you know, we don't have to be equipped with what we think of as artist things.
Yes. That makes sense. Yeah. No, the materials are right under our noses.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I've gone in a direction now, you know, art therapy has become a huge thing, hasn't it? So what are your thoughts? I mean, really, because I the way that I'm listening to some of this conversation with your workshops and stuff, you're giving people therapy, right? It's just through art.
I guess so. Although I do know a few people that work as art therapists, and it's quite, you know, a very different process to.
It is a different process. I've got my ex-husband's sister's daughter has just qualified as her first. Think about that process then, and I just think, you know, it's such a beautiful way to get a therapeutic intervention, right? Doing art, getting involved, getting lost in your mind to find other parts of your mind to explore yourself and what's going on is a fantastic way.
I was just going to say, a few years ago we set up a craft studio at a place called the Old Printworks in Borsall Heath in Birmingham, and we ran probably a few years, and then eventually they set up, the ladies that came to the group set up a craft co-op, and they just ended up doing it independently, and it was amazing. And I think, I don't know what they've done through lockdown, but they were still meeting up, you know, like years later, and a different person would be making lunch. And
it's a great way for people to connect and commune though, isn't it? And I think definitely through the whole lockdowns sort of areas.
Yeah.
But people just needed to find their vibes within that and how they could connect to things and potentially things that they've never done before. So if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking, oh my God, I can't do anything artistic, I can't do anything creative, what are your sort of starter tips for people to start to explore that? Because, you know, so this weekend, as an example, I am attending a shamanic art weekend. So I know there's going to be a bit of drumming and a bit of kind of trancey kind of stuff going on, you know, no drugs, just mind kind of trips and stuff, and then doing art. And the guy that's leading it is an amazing shamanic artist, so I'm quite excited. Yet there's still this part of me that goes, I can't do anything. Do you know what I mean? I can't do anything. Why am I going? And equally, it's kind of, it's like I feel like I'm peeling back my own edges to my own securities or my own, oh, I can't do anything kind of thing. So if people are listening to this and they're just kind of scared to start, and I think a lot of us are, because we just think we can't do anything.
Yeah.
What would you say? Where would you say to start? Things to do?
Okay, so two things you've made me think of there. First one is when I have been facilitating workshops myself, the best work that comes out of the session generally is from the person that's walked in and said, oh, I'm not very creative.
Yeah, honestly,
yeah, like 9 times out of 10 that is what happens. And I think secondly, so I went away last week to Yorkshire with a friend, and she'd booked this place, I think it was called Clay and Cobbles or something like that. And we were painting a bowl in a workshop. I never get to sit and participate in a workshop just as a participant, just to do something. It was so nice. And I looked at this blank bowl that I started painting, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Where do I start? Yeah. And then I just start. You just be in the moment and enjoy it, and don't be afraid of making mistakes, because there isn't a mistake. Just everything you do, it's about, and I think going back to that creative process, it's about how you adapt along the way. So you just kind of working with what you've got all the time, and just kind of trusting yourself that, you know, and also, like when I've done my mosaic stuff, I you know, painstakingly think, should I put that piece there, should I put that, and I'm like running out of time, and I think if I've held that up 3 times now, that is where it's going. Just have some trust in your own kind of vision and skills, and not just creative process, that you as a person can tune in and create something. And it's not about it being amazing, it's about you enjoying that process of doing it.
See, I really like that, and it kind of makes me think about if you're going to stand up and do a speech per se, and people don't necessarily know what it is that you're going to say. So it's only you that would feel like you've potentially made a mistake, right? If you've missed something out. So I guess it's the same kind of thing. If you're given literally a blank canvas, a pen, a paper, a bowl, whatever it is, nobody really knows what you're supposed to be doing with that. And you don't really know. So I guess if you just follow it, it's going to be easy, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah. And
to not be judgmental of yourself. So I have a vision in my mind as we're talking of are they like the feathers that you made?
Talk to me
about those. Talk to me about those and the idea behind that, because they are so beautiful.
So that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning about if I had more time to do stuff, those kind of things. Some on the back of doing the owl, there are actually some friends of my dad that live in Callow End in Worcester. They, I think, originally started bidding on the owl, but because it's like big corporate money for these things, it could suddenly turn into quite a lot of money, and they were like, oh, hang on, okay, I don't think we could do that.
We can't do that.
Yeah, but anyway, so they spoke to me, as they said they wanted something wow for their garden. So you come around the corner, we want a wow sculpture, and we talked about a few things, the kind of colours that they liked, and we talked a bit about, you know, Parisian metros, the kind of that kind of architecture, iron railing work, that kind of thing, and the colour of that, and stained glass and mosaic and kind of various things like that. Anyway, so I put a few designs together, and yeah, that was the one. And interesting to see the sketch that started off as a little probably sketch about that big, just as a form, actually how it looks now is quite interesting.
I'll find a picture of that and put it on the end, because I mean that is such a statement piece, right, for any garden, garden. So does that stay there throughout all of the weather, or does it's been, so it's 4 years old now this September, and it's all good. So it's stained glass, metal.
It's steel. Some of it's been galvanized, some of it powder coated with this kind of like antique copper kind of glazy finish on it inside so there's metal framework inside the two top sections. Originally I'd planned to put a skin on the two outer stems, and then I was going to mosaic round that with some stained glass and mirror and stuff, but it was originally we talked about doing it, and it was just before mum died in the middle of all of that, and I just lost my head in it all, and it just took, the whole project just took a long time to kind of get together, but at the same time it saved me having all that to concentrate on and create, and so and they're really pleased with what they've got. And actually I think they've look at a picture of it now, they've got some things growing up the side of it, because it's got like the kind of metal.
So in terms of the metal work,
yes,
I'm gonna have to go back to address this though, because obviously sorry that your mum passed in the middle of all of that, but isn't it interesting, having lost my father last year, lost him, we know exactly where he is or isn't, so I hate using that word, but isn't it interesting that our brains, they kind of frazzle, yet we lean into the things that save us. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of be thankful for the things that we recognize that save us. So now I'm going to go back to the art. So the metal framework and everything, you do that, or you get someone to do that?
No, so I designed it all, and then I had to work out so there's a place down the road from where we live now, and like a metal engineering company. I went to him and said, I want to make this, how can I do that?
Cool. So when you go to places like that and you show them, do they look at you as if you're balmy, or go?
Because I don't, so he's normally an agricultural kind of framework kind of a person, so he made the kind of main stem bits, and then a friend of mine, Gavin Lurie, who I've worked with on some lantern stuff with Welfare State International before, and various other things that he's set up, but he is a metal worker, so I made the frame and shape out of willow, and then he took it away and made it out of metal. From my shape. So that's what's on the inside of the petal, leaf shaped, and then the stained glass, and that's on like a leaded thing that all had to be concreted and attached to the metal framework of that.
So there's all these different processes. So equally, your ideas, you're putting it together, collaboration and support and help from other people to bring it to fruition, I guess.
And I'd done a Tiffany stained glass course, like an 8-week course at the MAC in Birmingham, and I'd obviously done some mosaic before, but I'd never done any leaded stain work before. Sometimes part of me was like, what am I doing? Why are you doing this?
So the glass cutting, I have to say that's something that quite appeals to me, and the mosaic.
It's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Is it hard to learn, or is it okay?
It's amazing. I remember talking to somebody a while ago about and she was doing metal work, and she was talking about how when she first felt the materials in her hands, she felt like, I found my material, this is my thing. I do feel like that with glass, to be honest.
Cool. That's fantastic, isn't it? So if you could do anything and make art to go anywhere, what kind of thing would it be and where would it go?
So what I want to do now is I want to make so the owl and the elephant are brilliant, but they're not my, as you pointed out, my framework. They're not my, I haven't made that thing. So that's, I really want to get into doing that, like making my own frameworks to then put stuff on. So something that I'm thinking of doing is to if I could apply to the Arts Council to get some funding so that I could make a sculpture for our garden, and then potentially have a sculpture garden here and have a workshop here where people can come and learn how to do like stained glass, mosaics, potentially.
I'm already in, because I was already going to say, so do you teach anyone how to do the stained glass or the mosaic?
So and then we could have, you know, an open garden and people could exhibit their work and other people could come and see, and they could potentially sell their stuff. But you know, if I could make a wow piece for our garden to start with, that I, you know, if I could be funded to do that. I've got this idea for a kind of like everything's always got spirals in it, a kind of a spiral kind of shell, kind of, it's red, it's glowing sort of orange and red, it's got light inside, and it's got some of its, so the main inside spiral is glowing and it's, the light shines through with red glass, and on the inside or the outside it's got a mirror, so red shines onto that, and then that's going to have a play of light back on the ground and surroundings from there. And it's probably about, I don't know, 2.5 meters round, high, that kind of thing.
Making me think like a clamshell or something.
I'm thinking more spirally snail kind of, a bit more spirally.
I love the sound of that. So who is it that you need to apply to so that you can start this?
Potentially the Arts Council, because they do have this developing your creative practice fund. And actually a friend of mine who I did art A-level with, who was one of my friends at school, sent me a message having seen my elephant, saying that she works for the Arts Council and we should have a chat sometime. And I'm like, maybe I can talk to her about this.
I think that has obviously happened, and now we're talking about it here and other people are listening, so we're all going to be behind.
I'm putting it out there. You've got to put it out there to make it happen, right?
It's absolutely true. We've got to invite the universe to listen and to take note from things. So I don't want to hold you back too much more, and you've already given us some tips, but off the back of this conversation, if somebody's literally going to listen to this conversation and then say, right, I'm going to do this, because I'll be completely honest with you, sometimes with some of my clients, well, not sometimes, a lot of the time, I'm just encouraging them to go and try new things, different things. So, you know, and often it will be just go and lots of my clients like to brain dump stuff, doodle things, whatever, you know, just do different things. So if someone's feeling inspired, straight after this conversation, what's a quick thing they can go and do and grab? Putting you on the spot, I know.
Well, I guess something that everyone has access to is to press some flowers and leaves.
Okay.
And do some card making with cereal boxes. Just use a cereal box, the brown, and some Pritt stick and a bit of tissue paper. I mean, that's like possibly a bit twee. The other thing I've really got into doing is with inner tubes from a bike shop. They get rid of them. They can't do anything with them, like punctured inner tubes. I've been making some jewelry, and like you can make, if you look it up on the internet, like earrings and stuff, and necklaces and bracelets and handbags and all sorts of stuff, like tractor inner tubes. You can get bigger stuff. It's amazing stuff. It's like leather, but it's free, and you can just need a hole puncher, like, you know, those ones like a leather tool hole puncher, just one of those, and you just cut the inner tube to a point so you can kind of thread with it as well, use it to stitch with. Actually.
See, there's really simple things that like people like me are like, oh my god, really, I could do something like that. And it was interesting. I know I said we were going to come to the end of the conversation. I was at my niece's earlier for lunch, and she has two daughters, and the youngest one, who's 6, first thing she came out with was these 3 sort of paper dollies that have all these cut out things, so there's bits of materials on them and there's all these colours, and she's like introducing us to them, and I was like, you're so proud of those, and you've literally sat and just made those today.
Yeah.
And that's your like create, and it's that childlike creativity that kind of, I think, if a lot of us could go back to being childlike and curious like that, we wouldn't judge ourselves, and we'd just explore it a little bit more, wouldn't we?
I actually had a really interesting I don't know what it was, an interview or podcast or whatever on Radio 6 today, some psychologist, and she was talking about how proud people naturally are of things that they've made themselves, and what the value that they put on things that they've made. Made themselves, and
it's absolutely true, because it brings out that inner self-esteem, I guess, doesn't it? So you must be sitting there super proud of all these things that you've made.
Well, I know people that are definitely more prolific than me, so I do have moments of, I wish I could just get on with stuff just for this. I'm kind of I need a deadline to do stuff. Cool. Yeah,
maybe we need to impose some self-imposed deadlines for this. For you applying to the Art Academy.
That's what my friends say. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes,
book a stall. You know, put yourself an exhibition,
and then you'll have to do it. You'll have to show. That's awesome. So at the end of this podcast, when it goes out, we'll put a bunch of links and stuff. And if you want to send me some of your photos of some of your artwork without me having to go through and that would be fantastic. And if you want to send us a little video of how to do something, if you've got any videos of simple things, we can put those out there, because it will be great to share with you.
Right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and one day we'll have to meet in person.
Yes. Are you in England now, or are you going back?
I am still in England. So
are you going back to Antigua?
I am going back to Antigua, she says. And then everybody keeps saying, when are you going back? And the problem is that my daughter's had her first daughter. So I'm being a very proud, I'm calling myself an Oma, not a grandmother, because I don't feel like a grandmother. So I'm going German side of the family. Yeah. So it's actually quite hard to imagine leaving this beautiful person.
Yeah.
But yes, I am going to go back. I'm probably going to go back for about 8 weeks with my mum and then come back here. So I think we're at the change stage. The things that allowed me to be in Antigua have been really cool, and I've had an amazing time. And then the circumstances that I always said would change everything have occurred. My mum or dad would pass and my daughter would have a baby. You know, I kind of view it as the time is coming to a close, yet there's still things to go out there and explore and enjoy, and then come back here and enjoy life here. So maybe when I'm back here more, we'll definitely have to come, and I need to have some kind of workshop. I'm definitely drawn to the mosaic and the glass cutting. I quite like that idea. So
yeah. Excellent.
So anyway, there you go. Thanks ever so much for spending some time with us.
The pleasure. Nice to chat to you. Nice to see you.
You too. Take care. Thanks ever so much. Cheers, Sophie.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.